little bit about global security is United States Congressman Jeff Fortenberry. Congressman, welcome to Drive Time. Good to have you.
Good evening, Kobe. Thanks for having me on.
You are certainly someone that is very concerned about our global nuclear security. You're the co-founder of the Congressional Nuclear Security Caucus. Have you had a chance to meet with any of these leaders, or will you be having that opportunity?
Yes, I actually participated in an event yesterday, and there is a very significant lockdown of that convention center. The security is very high, as you pointed out. Frankly, I'm not too worried about making China's media upset, though.
No. Well, making the U.S. media upset, too.
Perhaps. I don't know how much freedom of the press there is there, but nonetheless, it is very tight security. I think you can understand why. A lot of heads of state are there, and it is a very serious issue. And when you're dealing with the prospects of trying to gather in loose nuclear material, the last thing you would want is some sort of incident that would be symbolic of the dangers that we face. So, frankly, I was pretty surprised by that level of security and lockdown as well. But I did participate yesterday in one of the summit events.
And Congressman, tell us about that summit, I mean, as much as you can.
Sure. Well, first of all, let me thank you for your willingness to dialogue on this issue. We've done this before. Most people in Nebraska get up in the morning and wonder about their employment status and how to secure their job and how their kids are doing in school, and appropriately so. And that's the major issue facing the United States domestically, ensuring long-term stability in our economy, getting this deficit under control. But nonetheless, the threats, the international threats to security, especially the prospect of nuclear weapons material falling into the hands of terrorists or somebody with a violent extremist ideology, is not just a threat to the United States, it's a threat to mankind and the future of civilization. So this summit is a chapter in what needs to be a very big book as to how we bring about more stability in regards to nuclear material worldwide. It's trying to get leaders to guarantee that the loose nuclear material that is out there, there's a lot of history of this from the old Soviet Union, the old United States Atoms for Peace program, is actually secure or is being brought to secure locations. One of the outcomes is that the Ukraine has agreed to basically secure its material. Chile just did recently as well. And there are a lot of places around the world where loose nuclear material is not optimally guarded.
Yesterday, White House counterterrorism chief John Brennan reported on al-Qaeda's aggressive and ongoing efforts. Is al-Qaeda right now the largest fear for us?
Well, that's certainly one of them. If you look at what the means that these people will resort to, we tend to project rational behavior on other state actors who have nuclear material. In other words, we would assume that they would not use this if their own existence was threatened. Well, that sort of rational operative premise does not exist among some people who are willing to die and take as many people with them as they can in order to further their ideology. So I don't think you can take the chance that al-Qaeda is not necessarily committed or is not in a position to gather this type of material. Clearly, Brennan did express that worry. It is an ongoing worry we have. The possible event of them taking over some sort of large-scale nuclear weapon in one of the countries of the West, for instance, or China or Pakistan, is more remote, although it is a concern in Pakistan. But them gathering nuclear material from one of these unguarded or less than optimally guarded sites and converting it into a nuclear weapon is more of a real possibility.
Well, and China remains a major concern as well.
Well, that's right. I mean,
and I'm Chinese president, I believe, and President Obama yesterday. Did they have a private meeting together?
Well, it's my understanding they talked about the issue of Iran. Now, this is another side conversation that this event, the Nuclear Security Summit here, is enabling. The White House put out a statement that basically said we're making progress with China on the question of Iran. As you know, Iran is quickly developing nuclear weapons capability. This would be a geopolitical game changer in the Middle East if this happened, and a very, very real threat. China is resistant to joining the Security Council initiatives to try to impose very harsh sanctions. I'm in favor of these sanctions. We have to act quickly. The Russians have been somewhat resistant. Although the Obama administration said they made progress, China put out a statement, as I noticed, and said, no, don't misinterpret our posture from yesterday. So they have significant trade agreements or trading going on with the country of Iran. They don't see the threat like we do. That is very unfortunate, because there is no one's security who is going to be secure in this world if a nuclear weapon goes off in Tel Aviv or Berlin or Chechnya or worse yet, Washington, D.C.
When you say you've called for the sanctions, you're talking about the Iranian government now, right?
Against the Iranian government, yes, let me be clear. Not against the Chinese, but the Iranian government. And this is what we need the international community to join us in a collective effort to force the Iranian regime to change this pathway and join the responsible community of nations.
In the discussions,
and China is key to that as well.
Absolutely.
And they are resistant, and this is a real problem.
In the discussions that you have been taking part in, has there been talk about dirty bombs, and are dirty bombs in terrorists' hands, are they an even larger threat than regular nuclear weapons?
The dirty bomb issue is a significant problem. In fact, various reports on the possibility of weapons of mass destruction point to the issue of dirty bombs as being one of those real threats out there, which can come, the dirty bomb material can come from a variety of sources. But again, this summit was primarily to address a lot of the major stashes, if you will, of nuclear material that are out there that have come from the old Soviet Union, as well as the United States Atoms for Peace. Other stashes that are out there were intended to be used for medical purposes, but nonetheless are in somewhat unguarded conditions. I mean, I know of a few sites myself and have been told about them. In fact, one military excursion, one of the pilots who was in Congress actually had a map, and it was circled around an area saying physically, do not bomb here, because it was a site of storage of loose nuclear material.
United States Congressman Jeff Fortenberry joining us on the Lincoln Orthopedic Center hotline tonight. The goal is ensuring that all nuclear materials worldwide are secured from theft or diversion within 4 years. That from President Obama. Congressman, is that a possibility? Is that a realistic goal?
Well, I think some of the results are already encouraging. Again, I mentioned the Ukraine and Chile earlier, and to have a gathering like this is a strong force. It not only gives momentum to this concept of cleaning up the world and giving rise to incentives as well as initiative by countries who are there. It also creates, again, the opportunity for the side conversations that I was just referring to. And this, again, is one chapter in terms of a more secure future for the United States as well as the international community. But there are a lot of other chapters out there, Iran being the most pressing at the moment.
Congressman, one final question. President Obama has approved a nuclear policy for the United States, promising to reduce America's nuclear arsenal, refraining from nuclear tests, and to not use nuclear weapons against countries that do not have them. Do you agree with the policy? What are your thoughts on this policy?
Next Tuesday, actually, the Foreign Affairs Committee is going to unpack some of these developments. We actually have a hearing on this. So I'm reserving full judgment until I study the issue more thoroughly. I think it is important to engage directly with the Russians on disarmament. But if you're going to go in the direction of reducing strategic nuclear warheads, I think it's also important to leverage that moment to talk about the opportunity for missile defense, to talk about, again, ensuring that that country is willing to help us make sure Iran does not acquire nuclear weapons capability. There also is a pressing issue of modernization of nuclear weapons. Some of the equipment is aging and perhaps deteriorating. And then again, you want to create a worldwide movement like the Nuclear Security Summit here is doing to try to secure loose material. So I think it is an important policy direction, but it should also be leveraged for other security measures that are going to help keep us safe.
And Congressman, thank you for your work on those efforts.
Thank you very much, Cope. I appreciate that.
Congressman Jeff Fortenberry.